Okay, back from narrowing the vulcanite down, and I also did another step that's after all these years and hundreds or thousands of stems that I've made, I still do this, especially when it's a small, delicate stem. I put this back into the same little portable vise thing that I used to hold it to tape it, and then scratched a line with a needle scribe, one of these little guys, like a hypodermic. Made that line across there, and then took a 4 square or a triangular, either one will work, needle file, and put a small groove on each side of this, and then filled it with one of these paint sticks. You've seen me use these before, but I'll just keep showing them to you each time, and it saves you looking stuff up. So this is a paste type paint that is designed for this purpose. It like imprints or scratches, you scrub it in and it turns to paint. So like you painted it with a micro brush. Anyhow, that will prevent you from ever losing track of the center line, which, believe me, is a very big deal, because more than any other single aggravation, when I talk to stem makers, they say all was going well until either had a loss of concentration or a miscalculation, and they cut into the airway. And that usually, by definition, that happens fairly late in the game, so they've wasted a lot of effort. But if you've got a visual reference that it's not going to wipe off, you can't remove it, it's going to stay there until you grind more material away, and then it'll disappear. But that will allow you to go after the thinning of this with relative abandon without having to worry too much about cutting into the airway, as long as you pay attention. So that's where we are. I used a French wheel, by the way, not the knife grinder, to get this down, and it's only because I wanted a little more finesse and ability to look down and see the gap. Fine control is a little better on a French wheel than it is with the big knife grinder. And I also put some of this stuff on there, the mega Scotch tape called hockey tape, and that's to let me know when we've touched near the surface of the wood. Now, it'll scuff long before you cut through it if you're gentle. It's shockingly tough stuff, or plastic armor plate. Also, now in this case, out of luck, there's a lot about this pipe that's hard to work on, but one of the things that's going to be nice is that because we're going to have to refinish it, that when we're finally shaping this and getting it all level and stuff, if we scuff the shank a little bit, it won't make any difference. It's not like a shiny new pipe where the entire stem has to be made off of the pipe with no risk to the original finish on the shank. Here, we can scuff that up a bit. Now, I don't mean gouge it or scratch it or change its shape or anything, of course, but when we're sanding, that'll give us a little of a breather. So now, next step is to lower the stem, the part of the stem that is not the button, and also remove these square corners here, because right now we've just got a tapered wedge shape, kind of a brick. So whatever tools you use to get to this point, there you go. It doesn't matter the tools you use, how much they cost, or anything like that. Now, some are faster than others, but unless you do this for people who expect it to be turned, they want it quickly returned or something like that, how long it takes you to accomplish it doesn't really matter. So you could actually have taken this entire round block thing and done it all by hand with a file or a sanding board or something like that. So anyway, that's it. I'll go do the next step and turn the camera back on when it's finished. Okay, I thought I'd pause in the middle of this current step to cover a couple of things that are a little counterintuitive. The tape that I put there is as a guide and also a reminder not to go too far. Now, the reason that the button is being left so long, meaning front to back, is that we are going to sneak up on that. And that's a finesse thing that comes toward the end. Don't go thinking that you want the final measurements anytime sooner than at the very end. You want just keep things on the gross removal side here. The tools I've used so far are let's see, it's a double-aught pillar file. They're smooth on the edge, rough here, and that is for this kind of a thing. And then the same type of file, only narrower, smooth on the edges, rough on the surface. It's also a 00. And this is the one that is like whittling a stick. Now, people think that you keep pressure even, meaning front to back, rolling it like this. Not so, at least not with rubber. You actually are giving this a little bit of that so that the pressure is on this edge as you do this. Now, the stem should be braced in a little saddle of some kind, but the difference between holding a file that's completely flat and putting a little pressure on this edge up here is astonishing. People that have visited my shop say, how in the world are you getting these almost little earthworm curls of rubber to come off? When I use the same file, I don't get that, and that's because they're putting even pressure. So play around with that and learn that they will actually cut far more efficiently when you tilt them a little bit. Lift up the edge that's toward you and press down on the one back here as you're pulling at about a 45 or 60 degree angle, and they will rip right through stuff. Okay, and the other file that we're going to use is the opposite of the pillar files in that it's smooth on the flats and got teeth on the edges, and that of course is to keep this guy squared away. So I will continue this step, and notice that the white marks that I talked about a minute ago show up through tape, so that's a very big deal. In fact, with all my experience, I found myself starting to put a little twist in this until I checked with the alignment with those little white markers and then straightened it right back out. So it's extremely easy to get a stem that you're making like this have a little barbershop kind of a twist in it if you're not careful. And those little marks there will keep you honest all day long. So, alrighty then, I will finish this current rough shaping or gross shaping step and get back with you in a minute.